Hi, everybody. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the Capstone proposal and what goes into it. It's really the most important single deliverable product that you will produce during this quarter of ENVIR 490. It's going to lay out all of the details of your research and specify many of the obligations, objectives, and responsibilities of your internship. And so we do need to spend quite a bit of time thinking about this, crafting it, and making sure that it's suitable for general consumption, because it's not just a product that you will be delivering to me. It's going to be shared with your faculty advisor and site supervisor, and they are going to need to approve it before you can continue into your internship. So it's very important that everyone is on board with your approach and that everyone accepts what you're doing. So you will be getting feedback from me, you'll be getting feedback from your supervisor, and ideally feedback from your faculty advisor throughout this process, so that at the end of the quarter, when we submit these final documents, they will be well versed in your materials, and it'll be easy for them just to sign off so you can get started. So let's talk about what goes into the proposal. First of all, just a reminder, you are selecting a research topic that is based on some aspect of your internship, or should at least dovetail nicely with your internship, so that as you do your internship, it is informing your research and vice versa. The end products for this quarter will be the proposal and the learning contract. I'll cover the learning contract in a separate video. So very important that these two documents are produced, and that the proposal in particular has some aspects of both the internship and the research included. Now, crafting a proposal can be a lot of work, and maybe many of you don't have a lot of experience doing that, and that's okay. We're going to be approaching this process incrementally. First, we'll evaluate some examples, and I'll allow you a chance to talk about that in groups and get comfortable with the key concepts. Then, once you've secured an internship, you will develop your research question. That will help you identify who a suitable faculty advisor might be, and I'll also give you some insight into what kinds of research methodology you might use as part of your investigation. Then we will produce a roadmap outline, and I'll cover the outline in a separate video, but the crux of the roadmap outline is that it really does spell out exactly what will go into your proposal. We call it the roadmap to distinguish it from other types of outlines you might have done in the past. There really needs to be quite a bit of detail in the roadmap outline. Again, we'll cover that in a separate video. Next step is to draft a proposal, and this draft proposal will get substantial feedback from the teaching team. Subsequently, you'll be able to revise that before you submit your final. A really important point, and I think I've already mentioned this, is that the proposal is actually not just about your internship, but about how the internship and the research fit together. So be thinking about that as you start the process of crafting your proposal. What is the connection between your internship and your research question? A research proposal is a fairly standardized document. It's really important that every proposal has the same components. And that's not just for this course. In general, if you ever come upon the need to submit a research proposal to a funding agency to get a grant or something like that, there are standardized formats. And that's so all of the proposals can be judged fairly and equally. So it's really important that you have a header with your host organization as well as your site supervisor and faculty advisor listed. You also have some title for your project. You should have a 1-paragraph abstract, which summarizes the proposal. Generally, we do the abstract once the proposal is crafted and it summarizes the contents. Then there should be a project context and background section. Now, this is probably the section that most of you would have the most, you would be most comfortable with writing. It's just really just summarizing what is known about the topic. It does need to be done fairly concisely, really in no more than 2.5 pages. So you don't want to just go on and on and on about the background and context. You should be getting to the point quickly. What is the chief problem that you are addressing? Why is it an issue? And the background and context in particular needs to provide enough information about the topic that we can understand the research question. The research question, I personally think it's good to have one singular research question, but you could have a few if the need arises. The project responsibilities and methods section, again, shouldn't be any more than 2.5 pages, and it should lay out 2 separate things: the responsibilities to your organization as well as your methodology for answering the research question. And then last, there's a project significance. What is the significance of the work that you're doing? And that's a difficult thing sometimes to come up with, but you do need to think broadly about your contribution. I also want to make sure that it's very clear that you need to incorporate references within your proposal. This should be a formatted list. We use the CSE style, and it needs to include at least 4 sources in your context and background section, 2 sources that you incorporate into your project responsibilities and methods, another 4 sources that you include in your significance section. And really significantly, you need to have at least 1 peer-reviewed source in each one of those sections. So a minimum of 3 peer-reviewed sources are necessary for this proposal, although I think to do a good job, you will likely want many more. You can additionally have appendices or figures, visual aids, maps, things like that as you see fit. So let's talk about the various pieces. Here's an example of the header: student's name, host organization, site supervisor, faculty advisor, and the project title that you have developed. This is should be something that is a merge of both your internship and the research that you want to do. Here's an example. The abstract has 5 components. This is a standard abstract. There should be roughly 2 sentences that cover the why you are doing the work you're doing, the rationale. Why is it important? 1 to 2 sentences that explain the purpose of your work. Sometimes it actually starts with that expression, what the purpose of this work is, or the aim of this work is. Then a couple of sentences that lay out who you're working with and what you're doing, as well as the general methods that you'll be applying. A couple of sentences on expected outcomes or possible results, and then 1 or 2 sentences on the significance of the work. Now, I have this particular image here because I want to explain that the standard layout of a proposal should take on sort of an hourglass shape, meaning it should start relatively broadly, big picture. What is the big picture issue or challenge? Work your way more specifically to the research question, the specific research question, or a couple of questions that you will be asking. And then it should start to broaden back out as you think about not only your internship and the methods that you're using, but then definitely as you think about what the significance of this work is, not just to you personally or to your organization, but broadly to the field in which you're working. We really do want you to focus on making a broad contribution through your work. We're not just repeating things that other people have done. We are attempting to expand on the field in some way. So here's this hourglass getting more specific in the context and background section. First, you're going to introduce the environmental and scholarly issues broadly. What is the big picture problem? Then working more specifically into the issue or challenge that you are addressing, and you need to connect between those things. connected to your specific project whenever you possibly can. You're moving from general to specific. The idea is you are leading the reader towards your research question, which in your case will likely be relatively specific. As I said, the research question, 1 to 3 questions, typically. One question is, I think, a good thing to focus on. It needs to be specific enough that you can actually address it within your allotted time, but broad enough that you can show some connections to bigger issues in the environment. Whenever possible, it should be a merging of your internship and the scholarly work or the scholarly research, and really feasible but rigorous. We will cover this in much more detail in a subsequent lecture because identifying a research question can be quite challenging. The responsibilities and methods section, again, it is talking about the internship and also talking about the research. Very important that you think about both of those things. And actually, I think it's a good idea to handle them in separate paragraphs of the responsibilities and methods section. What are the goals and objectives of your internship, and how will you meet those goals and objectives through your responsibilities and the product that you will produce? And then moving on to a separate paragraph that might begin with, in order to answer my research question, I will do X, Y, and Z. First part, as I said, you want to describe the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why of your internship. That's the first part. Second part, specific details that show how you will answer your research question. You've laid out the research question. I need to know specifically how you will answer it. There needs to be a very clear link, and it needs to be something more than I will review the literature. We're not doing book reports here. We are expanding on a field, and that's going to require more than just a library research in most cases. The last section is the significance. And this image is meant to highlight the fact that the significance section has 3 points to it, 3 paragraphs typically. And I'll go through those now, but make sure that your significance section, when you lay it out, has 3 distinct paragraphs that cover 3 distinct levels of significance. This is also where you are broadening out the hourglass, okay? You're explaining why this work is significant. And as I said, it is really important that you think clearly about how your work will make an impact beyond just giving you a grade in this course. We really want to expand on some field. In order to expand on some field, you have to know where the field is coming from. So start doing background research as soon as you understand what your topic is. So as part of the significance section, we want to start with the first paragraph, which is the significance of this work to you personally. How is doing this internship going to impact your personal, professional, and academic goals? Okay, that should be 1 paragraph. The second paragraph is the significance of this work to your host organization. You might be able to get some of that from the catalog description. You might be able to get some of that from discussing the issue or topic with your site supervisor. And you can get some of that information by going to your host organization's website and looking for their mission statement. Those are different ways that you can identify the significance of this work to your host organization. That is the second paragraph of the significance. The third paragraph of the significance, and this is a really important paragraph, is the significance of your work more broadly to academia and society. So what is the contribution that your work is making? Again, in order to understand the contribution that your work is making, you need to understand the current state of knowledge about your topic. How are you pushing that state of knowledge forward? What are you adding? Maybe it's something minor, like demonstrating a particular theory or concept in a new and unique way, in a new and unique location, or combining different ideas together, but you need to explain what you believe your contribution will be within that last paragraph. It's also a great place to tie in some of the previous literature on the topic, so a good place to include citations. As I said, there is a works cited section. In-text citations and the works cited are formatted in the CSE style. You can find examples of CSE style with UW libraries by just doing a simple Google search. I have some examples as well on Canvas. Minimally 10 sources, at least 3 of them have to be scholarly sources, although I think with a relatively straightforward Google Scholar search, you might be able to find many, many more on your particular topic area, at least generally. 4 in the context and background, 2 in the responsibilities and methods, 4 in the significance section. These citations can be in many different forms. They can be tools and they can be context and issues. What I mean by tools is that sometimes we can find a citation that explains a method or approach that we will be using. So these are tools citations are really great for using in the responsibilities and methods section. Maybe you're going to be using a particular interview approach. Find a citation for that. That's an example. Context and issues citations are the kind that you typically think of. They provide background on a topic, or in the case of your significance section, will allow you to connect your work, the significance of your work rather, to the broader field. All right, I hope that that was helpful to you. I appreciate you listening. If you have additional questions, please reach out. I think this is going to be a great experience for you. You're going to learn a lot, and I'm excited to see what you come up with.